Data collection is usually the second step in the statistical investigation process after the problem or question is defined. To find information about a large number of people is generally not possible to ask everyone to complete a survey. So instead, a sample of the population is chosen and surveyed. It's hoped that the information given by the smaller group of people is representative of the larger group. Choosing the right sample size and obtaining a representative sample are harder than many people realise. In this video, we'll have a look at data collection, what a census is, what sampling is, the features of a good sample, and surveys. For many statistical problems, there's a target population. This is a group of things or people we are interested in finding information about. Examples might include the people of a country, the students of a school, or the members of a sporting club. Note also that the population from which a sample is drawn may not be the same as the population about which we actually want information. Often there's a large but not complete overlap between these two groups. Sometimes they might be entirely separate. For instance, we might study rats in order to get a better understanding of human health, or we might study records of people born in 2008 in order to form predictions about people in 2009. The most accurate way to investigate a population is to conduct a census, which involves obtaining data from every member of the population. In Australia, the Australian Bureau of Statistics conducts a census of everyone every 5 years. There's very rarely enough time or money to gather information about everyone or everything in a population. Therefore, the goal becomes to be finding a representative sample of the population. One way we might do this is through a survey. When might we conduct a census of the entire population? When your population is very small, when you have extensive resources, or when you don't expect a very high response rate. The action or process of selecting members from a population for that analysis to form judgments about the entire population is called sampling. The features of a good sample are listed here, and we're about to go through them in more detail. The accuracy of sample conclusions can be affected by all of these things. The better they are planned for, and the less likely they are to cause misleading conclusions. Now we'll look at some of the features of a good sample in more detail. An unbiased sample is collected in a way that no members of the intended population are likely to be excluded. Samples need to be representative of the population. A representative sample is a subset of a population that seeks to accurately reflect the characteristics of the entire population. For example, a classroom of 30 students with 15 males and 15 females. We could generate a sample that had 6 students, 3 males and 3 females. It could be argued that this sample is representative of the entire population of the classroom. Appropriately sized samples must be sufficiently large. For example, if you wanted to find out information about an entire school, you would not only ask one classroom, you would survey students from a number of classes. Generally, larger samples are more representative of the population, but they're harder and more costly to obtain. Some more features of good samples. The sample members should be selected at random, for example, by assigning numbers to a list of students' names and using a random number generator to select random numbers. The sample needs to be selected in such a way that it's cost effective. The sample needs to be practical to obtain. This has become easy with the rise of the internet and computer storage. Historically, data was a lot harder to obtain. The sample needs to have no measurement errors. Measurement errors lead to outliers, values that are noticeably different from other values. This is caused by the way we've obtained the data. The best way to avoid bias when selecting a sample is to make sure that the sample is randomly selected. 3 ways to do that is by simple random sampling, systematic sampling, and stratified sampling. We'll look at these in more detail in future videos. One way we can obtain information from a sample is through a survey. SurveyMonkey is one of the online providers that we can sign up to and either pay or unpaid. and create our own surveys and survey people. You can also use sites such as Google. Surveys are used to collect statistical data. They need to be constructed carefully and in simple language. Surveys shouldn't provoke or entice a response and should have a natural choice, a neutral choice, for example, yes, no, unsure. To do this, usually use an odd number of options. You want the best response rate possible, and therefore you need to construct your survey in a way which is easy to follow. Good surveys use closed-ended questions, sort of like yes-no questions, or minimal open-ended questions where people can write, say, for example, a paragraph response. You need to keep questions neutral. Don't ask leading questions that might prompt opinions. You need to keep a balanced set of answer choices, good to bad. Don't ask for two things at once. This is confusing, you probably won't get an answer to both. You need to keep questions different from each other. Nobody likes being asked the same thing multiple times. You need to test run your survey and check for any errors. That's really important. Writing a good survey means asking questions in a way that lets people or respondents answer truthfully. At the same time, it means providing respondents with a quick and easy survey taking experience. The better the survey and polls get, the better your responses become. So apply these best practices when writing a questionnaire or a survey. So in summary, in this video, we've had a look at data collection, what a census is, what sampling is, the features of good sample, and what surveys are. Thank you.